So we now have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let me read the usual announcement. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so by following the link in the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Excuse me. If we are unable to do so for reasons of economic hardship and despite best efforts, we will post on the Westborough Public Library website, the Westborough Public Library website an audio or video recording transcript or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And this meeting is being recorded. Okay. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? I'm not seeing anyone. We have minutes from our January 28th meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions about those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so I'm going down the list. I have Lynn,
Sukup, yes.
Kate,
Roger, yes.
Bill,
Lenine, yes.
Sean,
Theo, yes.
Pete,
Dunbeck, yes.
and myself as a yes. I don't see any other committee members on here, so the meetings are approved unanimously. Okay, so let's go on to the overall project status update. Brian, you want to give us an update?
Sure. Thanks, Ed. So as we know that our filed sub bids were due last week, we received them. They are currently being vetted and reviewed right now. I did not distribute out to the building committee as they are still unofficial. And we are in a window right now where they need to be reviewed and posted to any potential general contractors. Since we've received the bids, we have had some feedback on a couple bids. One has withdrawn their bid due to an estimating error. Another, there may be a technicality in some of the forms that are being filled out. I did put together a quick unofficial tabulation sheet that I can share to the committee. And
Walter.
Good afternoon. Sorry I'm late. I hate when work gets in the way of my hobbies.
Can everyone see that?
It'd be great if you could zoom into the actual data.
Sure. So for our unofficial results, I do have two tabs here. The first of which is pretty much all the raw data, which lists out where they're from, what trade they are, their bid price, and their alternate prices. And what I wanted to do is break it down just by what the trade is, the number of responses that we received, our apparent low bid. Obviously, these are still being vetted and reviewed for. Put them up against our latest estimate that we received. I used the estimate that was the AM Fogarty estimate, which was LPA's consultant, and then put a delta on there on how we were in line with what we had on our latest estimate. So one thing I wanted to bring up is the great response that we got almost on all trades. We did have two trades, Miss Metal and Elevator, where we had a single response in. But as you can see, both of which were underneath our estimate of for our budget, which is actually a great sign. All other trades had at least 3 responses. Some had as much as 9, which is fantastic and drives competition and drives our price down for this. And so ultimately what will happen is these bids will be vetted. We will have these posted. It will be submitted to the general contractors. And then at that point, they will have the option on who they are taking as their filed sub bids to put together their total bid for the project. It would behoove them to go with the lowest bid. However, some of these bids do have restrictions on them based upon who they do not want taking with their bid. I'm happy to say there really is very little amount of restrictions that are on these, and the apparent low bidders do not have any hard restrictions on who we think may be putting on a general contractor bid for this. So all that being said, as you can see in the delta, we had 4 trades that were over our original estimate, and the remaining trades were actually under estimate, our estimate. As a rule of thumb, our original estimate was roughly just under $5 million for our filed sub bids. And the apparent low bidders at this point in time, we were at about $4.3 million, resulting in roughly around a $700,000 lower budget than what we were anticipating. So I think it's great. It's a great sign. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. We still have to receive our general contractor bids, and we have to vet those out. That ultimately we'll be making a recommendation and putting into our total project budget. Those are still due on the 19th of next week. So once those are received, I'll get with LPA and we will review those. And then ultimately we will need we'll probably need another meeting with the building committee to discuss where we stand and what we're recommending.
Brian, for the general contractor bids, when do you expect vetting to be ready for that?
So they're due on Wednesday of next week.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly the time. It's probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My intention would be to review those the following day on Thursday.
Okay, so hopefully have them hopefully vetted on the 21st. Okay, cool. That will give us time. Walter, your hand's up.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we knew how many general contractors are bidding, or you don't know that till they bid or something, or?
All we do know, Walter, is when you're a plan holder on Project Dog, you put in the category what you're taking it for. And some of that's not reliable, but some of it is. And we had and then also it's just from experience, you know who's a general contractor and who's not that's pulled that. My hope, based upon what we've seen, is we're going to see at least over 5 bids from a general contractor.
Good news.
Yeah,
All around.
it really is good news to have 76 respondents and bids from a filed sub bid categories is a strong showing, and I hope the same kind of goes with the general contractor. And I hope the same trend happens where there's a lot of competition out there and they sharpen their pencils for this project.
That would be excellent. Make everybody happy. Okay. Any other news or questions on the bidding process?
One other thing I wanted to bring up, Ed, is once the general contractors have been received, we'll put a bid tabulation for that together to send out to the committee. That will include their base bid as well as the 2 alternates. And that's something that the building committee is going to need to discuss and determine whether or not alternates are going to be taken as part of the construction contract. We'd have to discuss alternate number 1, which would be the book drop, and then alternate number 2, which is the storm windows. The filed sub bid results that is made up of multiple different trades. So for example, with the book drop, there is some masonry that goes in there. There is some glass that goes into there. There's multiple bits and pieces that are going to make up that overall alternate. So we'll wait till the general contractor comes back and he'll have those all accumulated together and we can make that decision on how we're going to proceed.
Okay. Anything else? I had something I've been tracking. There's a question about a National Grid easement. Is that resolved now?
Not yet, no. And so I asked Mike earlier today if it's something that he'd be able to speak to from LPA. We were provided the form to fill out for the easement on the property, and I used the town manager's office as well as the assessor's office, and the feedback that I received from the town manager was that any easement is going to need to go in front of town meeting. And so Mike, if you want to kind of pick up where I've left off about what's actually being requested of the utility company, and then maybe Ed or the committee, we can discuss on what our next steps are going to be in order to make sure this doesn't become an issue.
You're muted.
How's that? Hear me now? Okay, thank you. So part of our project is to install a new transformer that goes along with a new electrical service to the building. And that transformer is to be provided by National Grid. So what the easement does is it allows National Grid access to their transformer whenever they need to maintain it. So just give you a sense of where this is. I'm just going to share my screen here for a moment. If I can find that, share. Share. Okay. So this is our site drawing from our civil engineer. Just to orientate, West Main Street's down at the bottom, Parkman's on the left, and this is the library footprint. So off of Parkman, just off the sidewalk, is the new transformer location. So the easement would be to strictly just allow National Grid to come on property to maintain this transformer directly off the sidewalk. So, scope of work could be as little as replacing a part with a transformer or replacing it in whole at some point in the future, but they need to know that they'll have access to do whatever they need to do to make sure that that transformer is properly performing at all times.
I'm just curious, there's a similar, what transformer does the library use now?
It is a pole mounted transformer. I'm just
okay.
going to zoom in here.
Yep.
And that pole is currently just similar to the location of the new transformer, but it's just off along Parkman Street,
Yeah,
just
that's the
outside of the
leaning pole,
building.
just outside there.
Yeah,
think that's the
exactly.
leaning-
There's a lot going on that pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will it go away if we do this?
No,
I'm
that
getting a little
pole
off topic.
will remain. The
There'll
wiring
be a
would
wire
run.
going to the transformer.
Yeah,
Okay.
the wiring would run vertically down the pole
Mhm.
into a conduit underground to follow. You can see this dark black line to where the transformer would be.
Okay. So a question, this is maybe for Sean. Hey, Sean, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
I guess I also have a question. So the easement we're requesting here would be a permanent easement so that anytime in the future, National Grid could access this location to perform necessary work. Is that correct?
As long as they have equipment on the property that they'll need that easement.
Thank you.
So I'm just wondering, have we asked for, gone to town meeting for similar easements on the other town buildings?
Certainly there have been easements, but requested before. We can try and get some assistance with this as to how we would draw up this article for town meeting. And typically, I think we would just have it follow. It would be the article following the library article. Right.
That makes sense.
Sort of a fait accompli. The library passes, and then this is, I believe it's just a majority vote. So, but sounds like it's necessary. So, let me see who in the town office can help us draft this warrant article.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think even at one of our last town meetings, we had one for a utility easement on a street, so.
Okay, great. So it sounds like we definitely need that article. And Sean, you'll help us get something drafted there. Excellent.
We still have 2 weeks till the warrant closes. So I'm glad it came up now and not in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Now, I first heard of it a week or two ago, and I was like, "What?" But okay, good. Let's get it done. And that Mike, if we get that easement, the problem should be solved.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Any other overall project status updates? Okay, not hearing anything. let's go on to relocation. I know there've been walkthroughs of the library and the community center to look at what's going and where it's going to go with two of the relocation companies. Who wants to sort of give us a briefing on that?
We can kick us off. There's been multiple meetings that we've had based upon our temporary location and the transition meetings that we've been holding in order to try to get ahead of everything that we can think of before town meeting and ultimately putting into place after a successful vote. In addition to the transition meetings, I think those have been a good point for us all to get together, anyone that's been involved, and then highlight any of the higher priorities. And then we have little faction meetings on the side about how we're going to handle that. One of which was with the fire department and the building department that was held a week ago tomorrow. That was with the fire inspectors as well as the building inspector about the condition of the temporary space as it sits. They have some concerns about the existing fire protection and fire alarm systems. We've engaged with BH+A, who is the designer on record for the senior center project, to see if there was any work that had been done prior that we could use in order to help us do a assessment of these systems in the building. We received some back. It was mainly existing conditions, so we understand that we're going to need to do some extra work here in order to satisfy the fire in particular. Thanks to LPA, they've been helpful. We're going to be engaging with consultants to perform these tests and take an inventory of the fire alarm system as a whole to try to do is to see if we can make do and make some repairs to the fire alarm system to keep it up to snuff for the next year and a half that we're going to be there. We'd hate to spend a lot of money or the town's money putting in a new system to this only for a community or senior center project to come in here and possibly rip it out and put in their own system. So those meetings are ongoing. In addition to that, we've had multiple meetings, and thanks to Kate and her staff with town IT. There is going to be some challenges about the networks that need to get into this temporary space. Kate, I believe you met with the CW Mars rep about how that's going to be brought in. And then we're kind of working our way through it as to what the process and what the costs are going to be and how intrusive this is going to be in order to get the network cabling that we're going to need in the spot. In addition to the fire and building, there are some other items regarding temporary exit signs, making sure that those are properly working, ADA and life safety. And then LPA is also putting together a tentative floor plan that we are using to engage with the moving companies to get a rough order of magnitude as to how much this is going to cost for the moving services. I will kick it over to LPA if they wanted to share kind of I know it's a very rough draft of a floor plan, but it's going to help our moving companies put a price together, as well as help any of the town resources determine if power needs to be brought to certain areas or if data drops need to be brought to certain areas. This floor plan is going to be kind of our roadmap for doing that. Mike or Christina, did you want to share kind of the work that you guys have done to date on that, and then ultimately what's coming up next with one of the consultants?
Sure. I can at least share the floor plan in terms of what we've got started today. Again, we're still kind of vetting this out with Kate and her staff, and as you can see here, we have a lot of fantastic space. Here we have a basic layout of how we'd like to try to utilize the existing kind of layout that's shown in the crosshatch here is the tile sort of yellow brick road, as Kate put it, getting your way around this retail space. Using the shelves strategically to partition off the spaces to give some privacy to spaces like the children's area to contain noise and contain kind of sight lines also. So right now, here's our main entrance. As you can see here, we're utilizing the existing sort of point of sale stations as our circulation, as our self-checkout area. Barnes and Noble style new books and media in the front, large print and seating and quiet work over here, adult fiction happening in this corner, where we have the majority of those bigger, heavier stacks that we don't want to move a second time if we do have to push back, if and when the community center needs to take over the front half of this building. And then we have teens in the back corner here, and some flexible seating and work area that can be shared by all. As we kind of went through, we found that we could utilize these corners that were previously fitting rooms for local history storage, small group program, and over here, the Friends storage, and associated next to it is the Friends sale area. So we have some opportunities there that are pretty positive. Back of house, we think we have enough room to kind of relocate our offices. In addition to having some additional space back here in the loading dock and sort of storage area to do our processing and storage, and have our IT offices and an IDF room back here. What we need to essentially do is engage with either our consultants or someone similar to Code Red to evaluate what are the minimum things that we need to do in order to correct the issues or the trouble in the fire alarm panel and any issues with the existing sprinkler system, to be able to get occupancy of this space and to make sure that, you know, the fire and the building departments are happy with it. So that will be LPA's sort of next steps. Mike, Eric, feel free to chime in if I missed anything there.
Oh, thank you, Christina. I think that's one of our major hurdles here, is making sure that we can get this building ready and signed off by the town agencies. In addition to the moving company providing just the moving services, as you can see, there's a lot of furniture there, and we're going to try to reuse it a lot as much as we can out of the temporary location. We are making sure that we'll be keeping some contingencies for things such as any additional temporary furniture that is needed that can be got off the state bid list. And then we need to think about also the return trip home from here and moving all of the collection back to the new location that's going to have all new shelving and stacks. And ultimately what's going to happen with all the old equipment. That's all going to need to be disposed of the proper way. And so we need to account for those and make sure that that's in our total project budget as well. So these are numbers that we don't have currently specifically defined, but we do have rough orders of magnitudes for these, as we do not want to shortchange the project if indeed we do have to do some upgrades to the fire alarm and fire protection systems. I was given a few contacts from DPW. I know that the facilities department manager is on medical leave currently. I do have the person who's filling in for him. My plan is, once we determine exactly what the scope is that's going to need to get this building up to snuff, is reaching out to him and seeing if there are any town resources that can help us from an electrician standpoint, or anything that the town would use on any other municipal building to help us with this and help us circumvent any type of procurement or putting out another project with this. So a lot of work has been done in the past week and a half. And hopefully we keep the ball rolling and we get some more information from these consultants in the near future.
Bill, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, does everything that's going there to the community center can be stored there and go back to the building, or do you need extra space for storage?
I'll let Kate answer, but it's my understanding that there's enough square footage there to be able to bring everything over. And I know that you do have a plan in place regarding any type of purging or things that are being thrown away prior to any move.
Yep, so that's exactly right, Brian. So if we are able to utilize the entire square footage in the back area, then we shouldn't need any type of other storage. There is a kind of second floor in the back in the loading dock that's also really good for storage. I don't know if we'll utilize it now or just in case we get moved back, only because there's no elevator access up there for books and stacks. So we would have to hand carry everything up, hand carry everything down. But I think we'll be okay in terms of storage. I don't think that we'll have to utilize any third party or any other location. We will be looking for some partners within the town for some of the items that we have to move, some of our artwork on the walls, some of our kind of more precious items. I'm trying to work right now with the Historic Commission to see what they're able to take on in their space, which they have a really beautiful space that they want people to go to. It might be a really good idea for a partnership. So I've been talking to Christian about that. We get along really well. He's awesome. So I think we're going to try to relocate as much as we can prior to this happening, so it's not a part of the conversation with the movers. Because from what we heard, the artwork is one of the most expensive parts of moving, just how they have to wrap it and take care of it and move it and store it. And so if we can get those kind of inventoried out and divvied out beforehand, that's probably for the best.
Thank you. Ed, you're on mute.
Now I can actually talk much better. Just with one thing with regards to the fire stuff. I guess I'd like to ask that y'all have your consultants get at least ballpark estimates for both sort of the minimal that Brian mentioned and also upgrading to a new panel and things like that, so that you know, if there's not a vast cost difference between laying a foundation that will be useful to the senior center if and when they move in, versus trying to band-aid what we have, we should go ahead and do the new thing. Because as Christy pointed out, it all comes out of the town's purse anyway. And we want to take, I don't want to be stuck in the, speaking of somebody who pays taxes to the town, I don't want to be stuck in the library silo. I want to be in the town overall. So there's definitely trade-offs there. If it's going to cost $1 million to upgrade everything to where it would be perfect for the senior center and $10,000 to do some Band-Aids to keep it going for a year, that's one thing. But if it's a small difference, I think we should probably just go for the go for what the community center wants. And sort of a corollary to that is we may want to explicitly think about the community center's requirements as things go on. I don't know how hard that will be or how much we need to, how much it would cost, but something to consider anyway.
And I think that's a great point. Ultimately, what we need to do is, I know LPA is actively working with their consultants to get a proposal for these reports and assessments that are going to need to be done. Ultimately, what we're hoping for is that these reports generate a scope of work, whether or not something needs to be replaced or something needs to be upgraded. I think for the sake of time, once we receive those proposals from LPA, we do have the under the original appropriation. I'm just wondering what will need to happen in order to give the notice to board, let them proceed with this work, because my concern is that, you know, time is going to become of the essence, and town meeting will be here before we know it, and we're going to want to have a something in place, or an idea of what's going to happen once money is approved at that point.
I was going to ask that too. Do we have funds available from what's already been approved that could be allocated to the fire study?
In our original appropriation, we kept a small amount for both moving and temporary location out of our overall total project budget. And that was for issues just like this. So we even have probably enough money that if we find the scope of what needs to be done, we could probably proceed with that work. However, I think it would be smart to make sure that you have a project first and that you'd be moving into that location before any work was done. So But any of this pre-work and report writing and assessment, we do have the capacity for it.
So it sounds like LPA is going to need to bring on a consultant to do that work. And we have the funding available from last year's article to pay that consultant. So I would suggest let's get that done as quick as we can. That's going to be a critical path. Hopefully we don't have too many critical paths. Okay. So just to, so Brian, you mentioned that you are getting or have gotten some information from BH&A that we'll be using to at least inform the consultants what the existing conditions is, as much as we know.
We received some, and a lot of it was about existing conditions. We were hoping that some of the assessments that fire and building were requiring was already done by BH+A. It's our assumption, based upon what was actually handed over to us, is that they're probably going to be doing an entire overhaul of both systems as is. And so that an existing system assessment probably wasn't warranted, because they're going to be ripping it all out and putting in new. So it didn't give us it wasn't the golden bullet that we needed, but I think that it does help. You know, we were able to get some Revit files and, you know, given LPA some help regarding the layout of those. But as for the assessment of those existing systems is something that I believe we're going to have to do.
They also did share their design for, or their specifications for the fire alarm and for the fire protection, so that if there are any, you know, synergies, like you mentioned, Ed, we have some of that information already.
Yeah, it occurred to me, I hear about the fire alarm panel, and I think that's got, you know, modules, so we might need modules, X number of modules for what we're doing, and then they would have to add more to cover the walls and stuff. So if we put in the right panel, share some of that cost around. Okay. Brian, do you have a feel for when we're going to get, I'll call it a ballpark estimates for the relocation and the temp library?
Well, for the relocation with the movers, I'm hoping to get that within the next, prior to the select board meeting, is our goal.
Okay.
And then other costs, such as, you know, we'll have the cost from the consultant regarding these assessments. I don't have a breakdown on what that schedule would be. And if we feel as next week we need something, I would go from either previous experience or other projects, or asking the consultants if a conservative number could be put together, so that we could even break it out on our budget for an exact, you know, a separate line item, and what we're being held, in case there are questions about what that is.
So the cost to pay for the consultants, it's coming out of an existing appropriation, so we're not going to be presenting that at town meeting. That's already approved. On the other hand, the cost to make whatever changes are needed, it would be great to get, as you said, a ballpark conservative estimate for that.
Yep.
I don't think it's realistic to ask for it by next week, but certainly by town meeting.
Sure.
Let's see, anything else? So I know, Kate, you were wondering about rental versus existing shells. Any thoughts about that yet?
So we talked to the library moving companies that came to do the walkthrough about what that would be, what the process would be, and pretty much across the board it's not something that's really done. And so I think that what we're going to try to do is use what we have, but it might mean that we do have to make some either purchases of some temporary shelving that we can use. Temporary meaning it's not meant to come back to the library. Maybe we can find some secondhand, just because there's a lot of shelving here that we cannot take with us because it's built in. And so with the reductions in the collections, maybe we're okay, but I think That's kind of why we're doing this work with Christina right now, to try to really button that down and figure it out. So what you saw was kind of version 1. And we'll continue to work on that and get that much clearer so that we can get some solid plans in place for that.
And with that, with those a little more defined, I have engaged with some companies that are on the state bid list that actually specialize in either temp furniture or secondhand furniture that have been used in healthcare or higher ed industry, where they take those in and clean them up, and they're able for either rent or purchase. And I think we can handle that regarding either extra shelving or small amounts of furniture for offices.
Sean, do you happen to know if anyone in town, any of the other town departments would be interested in used furniture if we had to buy something?
Oh, who would use it after the library?
Yeah, if the library's done with it and we have some shelving that, or desks or whatever that are not coming back to the. So, I don't actually need an answer. We don't need an answer to that right now, but it's something to have, I think, in the back of our minds. Pete.
I don't know if you're aware, but Mark's Moving and Storage in Westborough has a charitable foundation where they, because of their business, they accumulate used furniture, unneeded furniture, and they try to find new homes for it and stuff. It might be a source of both a source and a destination for the furniture we're talking about here.
Thank you. I think in speaking with Jim Stewart, the facilities manager, before he went out on leave, that may have been the spot, Pete, that he was referencing as well, that he's gone to about for certain needs or donations after or before a project.
Anything else on temporary library and relocation? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. I'm going to move on. I guess we've covered both the relocation and the temporary space. So let's jump on to planning for town meeting. I drafted an article information page, to follow the actual article in the warrant. Can somebody, Kate or Lynn, did y'all make any edits to that? Can you put up the version let's share that. I want to show the committee and see if anybody sees any flaws. If not, then I think we'll send it on to Christy and ask her to have the appropriate people in town government review to make sure it's okay.
You're gonna have to give us a second to pull it up.
Okay, I'm going to move on and when it comes up, okay, here it comes. Never mind. So if you can zoom in on that. So that lower paragraph that's in italics is what I've written. And comments would be welcome.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Okay.
It's informative. It describes it, and having the numbers in there would likely be from the past ones is likely a question that you eliminate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the 2/3 at the bottom is necessary. So
yeah.
And certainly it'll get described in more detail in our literature and presentation. So yeah, I mean, I think that's.
We could write well, maybe not a novel, but we could write multiple pages about it, and it would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's meant to be somewhat neutral in tone, and I think you are. So.
Okay. Any other comments on it? In that case, Kate, can y'all forward that to, I guess, Christie and see if they have any comments or want to make any, if the town recommends any changes, and if not, I guess we can add it to the warrant. Is that something we need to vote on?
Just one tiny comment up on the top paragraph that goes with it too, right? It said design as well as construction. So I didn't know if you wanted design to be in this particular ask in the first paragraph. Since later you say that the design is complete.
Let's see. That is a good consistency point. I'm looking at it just to see what, so I don't remember the.
It might have
Oh.
been an older version, but that's what I commented on in mine.
Yeah.
We could just say design development and bidding for this library work are complete and the project is
Oh.
made.
Let's see. Design, because the design is, well, let me ask this, Christina, is there a possibility that something will come up that requires design work? Just, you know, minor maintenance for changes or whatever? I don't, if we leave it out, then we rule it out, I think, so.
The money, the second line there, the money to fund design, construction, and project management for the purpose of repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to imply that there are upcoming significant changes and we're still working on things. That's all I was trying to get at, is that
Okay.
the majority of the design is complete. And we're basically ready to commence construction.
Yeah, what's worrying me is the majority of the design is complete, but if there's any design work still to be done, we need to cover it in there somewhere. Why don't we move design? Let's make it to fund construction, project management, and any necessary design work or any necessary design costs. That sort of de-emphasizes it.
Yep. And then my other comment was ready to move forward, the second to last line. Ready to move forward into construction might be a little bit more clear, just to be
ready to move forward with construction. Yeah, that's
right.
That's
That
great.
might be a little bit clearer.
Kate or Lindy, have y'all got that? Okay, thank you, Christina. I love getting extra eyes on these things because I know okay. Other things for anything else on that information paragraph?
Yeah, so what you were just talking about, editing the warrant article or the article information?
Oh, it's
I got
in
a little
the
lost by
article
that.
itself. Yeah. Oh, okay. No,
Yeah, so that's really what you got to be
first thing,
careful about, because that's what matters.
yeah,
So I
the
don't
first
know.
one
Yeah.
was about the article itself. The second one is in the article information. So move forward with construction is in the article information. I think that's fine. Is it, so it's too, you think it might be too late to change the warrant article?
No, I'm just saying is what's in there is what you're going to be allowed to spend money on. So the article information has no relevance other than you don't want to lie to people.
Right.
Yeah, but if in fact any of these remaining funds are used in design activities, I'd be hesitant to take that word out completely
That's
from the
that was my
article.
thought too.
Sorry. And I thought you were talking about the information, in which case it doesn't. The actual article is what's voted on, or actually the motion will be. So but the motion's usually the top paragraph. Yeah.
What I was proposing is to move design after project management and say any necessary design. So there's still design in there.
Okay. Yep.
But it's not, but we're not making it the first item on the list because it is, like Christina said, we're
Right.
almost done.
Yep. That's good.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. As I think people know, we're presenting to the select board at about a little after 6 next Tuesday. We'll have our regular meeting before that to incorporate whatever new information we have from the bids and updated total project cost and so on.
I think you mean 2 Tuesdays.
2/25, is that 2 Tuesdays from now? It is 2
Yeah.
It
Tuesdays.
is.
from now. Okay, pardon me, next 2 Tuesdays from now, thank you.
I
Uh,
did have a question on that, if you don't mind, Ed. Just wondering which of these upcoming meetings you're hoping to have presence from LPA and Vertex, just for clarity for, our teams
There's a
to
bunch.
be able to plan.
It would be nice to have someone there for all of them in order to have the technical expertise. We, in the past, and I think still we, the building committee, like to do the presentations ourselves so that, because we don't want to look like we've handed the whole project over to a third party. But on the other hand, if somebody asks about, how the roof tiles are going to be attached, to make up a random example, we need somebody there who can actually answer it.
So Ed, I'll chime in just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so the one that I think it would be the most beneficial to have LPA and Vertex present at is kind of the larger scale, full deck presentation that we'll be doing at the library. Right now it's planned for 3/12, Lynn, 3/12? 3/12 at 6:30. It's a Wednesday night. That one we're going to make sure Westborough TV films, and that will be a great one. If we can get all the information in there, it can be long, it can be dry, that's okay. It will be filmed and it will be a good one to point everybody to have one packet that has everything in it. I've been watching a lot of the community center. I've been watching a lot of all of those. And I do think that having maybe one where it's in depth from the experts would be really beneficial. That's my 2 cents on that one meeting where I think it's important. I'm not sure. I'm new to town, so I'm not really sure what the select board or the advisory finance committee prefers, if they prefer to hear just from us or if they also prefer to hear from experts as well. But I just wanted to throw it out there that I do think for that one, it would be really beneficial to have you guys there.
Sean and Walter, if you care to comment on what you want to hear.
I think it'd be helpful to have someone from both groups at the AFC meeting if possible.
Go ahead, Sean.
Like you said, you don't know the layer of the questions, and I think it's really helpful to avoid just get all the information at one shot and take a vote versus having questions that have to go be researched. And we're kind of down to the wire by the time that happens on the 3rd of March. So if possible, that'd be great.
Walter, how long do you like those presentations to be from each?
So that really varies on the scope. Something this size, I could see us spending up to an hour on. Presentation shorter, discussion, and then there'd be discussion and vote. But this is a big deal. It's not the same as when like we have the Economic Development Committee coming today to talk about or Thursday to talk about $38,000. So that's 10 minutes might be more appropriate for that. But I think it's a chance for you to sort of rehearse your 10-minute spiel for town meeting with maybe a little room for extra. But leave time for people to ask the questions they have, because generally the questions that I find the AFC has will be questions that people at town meeting would have too.
Thank you.
Sean, how's the select board feel about that?
I mean, I don't think so. The AFC, there are individuals who have specific experience in like real estate development. So you may get some fairly detailed questions. I don't know that you necessarily have that. With the select board also, the members of the select board overall have been on longer, so I think you've heard this before. So I wouldn't say it is completely necessary. If representation could be there, I don't think it would hurt, but I wouldn't, it wouldn't be required. And we can always follow up with questions.
Yeah, I think you're also going to deal with multiple things that night, so the presentation there is probably shorter and
Right.
uh, the discussion may go longer.
Leah, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. As I told you, I had a doctor's appointment. But is this something that you need one of us to volunteer to be at the meeting at for the AFC, and when is it?
The AFC meeting is March 3rd at 7 PM in
March
Memorial
3.
Hall. And we would be more than happy to have, I think probably Kate and I will be making the main presentation. But anybody else wants to be there would be more than welcome.
Oh, well, I'd be glad to attend just to be there, in the background as moral support.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah, I would just say, for individuals who are committee members, if you can make either one of those, or actually all three, I would recommend it to just show the support of the committee.
What are the other two,
I think
Sean?
goes a great way. So that's the select board meeting on the 25th, the AFC meeting on March 3rd, and then also the library presentation on March 12th. I think having
Okay.
sort of all, as many of us as possible at each of those, I think makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so could somebody send just a quick little email that has the three listed with their location and their dates? And then everybody can respond about whether they can, maybe I can make all three of them. I don't know.
I can do that.
That'd be helpful.
Thank you.
Helps us unorganized people organize.
Kate, can we also send something to the trustees with that information?
They will be included.
Okay, great. I know they're included in all of our stuff, but just to be sure.
Oh, and sorry, just further, pardon me. I guess while we're talking about representation, I guess it goes without saying that there'll be folks there at town meeting.
Oh, yeah.
LPA, Vertex, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one where the questions have to be answered. All right. Thank you.
So let's see. So we have so we talked about the select board presentation, the AFC, and a big library building project info session on March 12th. So if people really want, if people want to see the dollars, that'll be the select board. If people want some more detail, that'll be the AFC. And if people really want the nitty gritty, I think that'll be at the library presentation.
Ed, do you think that you and I can plan something with maybe Christina or somebody from LPA and maybe Brian, just to figure out what those presentations, what the expectations are out of them, what we want them to bring, and what pieces we're each going to cover?
Absolutely. Yeah, Brian, do you want to set something up for that?
Yeah, I can do that in the near future. So
Okay. Great. Okay. The other sort of planning thing I have is the revised library building committee webpage. I don't know if people have looked at it. I know some people have. It's been revised again. We've added links to the minutes and the supporting documents. Also some information on the plans, the basis of design documents, and so on. And of course, the FAQ has been slightly updated. So it's looking good. I have a couple of comments I'd like to go through, but if anyone else has comments or suggestions having looked at it, it'd be great.
I also just want to throw out that documents portion, I set that up today. I was throwing stuff in there. So absolutely not everything that's going in there is in there yet. But I will say, if you find that there's documents that would be important, one of the pieces of feedback that we got was that the relevant documents were getting lost in all of the documents. And so we're trying to figure out, if someone's trying to look up the current state of the project, how can they get the information on what does that design look like? Where are they at right now? That we make it easy to find. So that's what that folder's designed for. So if there's things not in there that should be, let us know and we'll drop them in.
Additionally, I know that the meetings are not fully updated. I've sent an email to Aiden at Westborough TV and have asked him to make it current if he can for us.
Okay, so are you saying the documents from the earlier phases are in there now? Are those considered basis of design documents, or?
I'm going to share the screen.
Yeah, because what the person, they were wanting to look back at our original estimates and things like that we've been doing all along.
So,
Yeah,
so here's the repair project page now. We've got the
you're not
FAQ.
sharing it.
You're
Oh,
not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't click
You're
share.
not being nice. You're not sharing.
Yeah, they didn't teach me well in kindergarten
Mhm.
about Windows 11 sharing. So, okay, so this is the page. We've got the FAQ. The building committee has links to agendas and minutes. That just goes to the town agenda page, which I think is the right way to do it. There's no reason for us to maintain a separate copy of that.
Right.
The meeting recordings takes you to a playlist on YouTube with meetings up through the 19th. And just like Lynn said, I guess Westborough TV hasn't got that fully updated yet. Yeah, Lynn, please do bang on them for that, because
I will.
people are tend to assume that we're hiding things, or at least they talk that way. Oh, come on now. And then, let's see, I'm going to go back. There's the important documents. And as Kate said, this is not ready yet. We
Okay.
have the basis of design documents, the ADA statement, the public comment policy. I would suggest, does this have the actual, Kate, you may want to work with LPA to make sure we have current documents up there, in particular for the plans. And I think we want to put the cost estimate history up there as well. That's, the costs are, of course, what everybody cares about. So.
Right.
I mean, often people will keep the current documents in the top folder and then create just an archive folder that
Yeah.
if someone wants to rummage through the one from January of 2023, they can find those.
Yeah, I think our
Something like
struggle
that.
was we were trying to make sure that it was all of the documents from every single design project had kind of been dumped into one area. And so there was stuff from the 2012 project, there was stuff from the 20, and so that doesn't seem super useful for us, but I think I agree. I think having a place where some of the first versions of where this project started makes sense.
I've gone back and organized some of that stuff for my own use, so we can get together offline and
great.
I'll walk through that.
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, let's see. I'll keep sharing and find my notes here. Other notes I had, I'm going to go back to hopefully, I saw looking at the FAQs. We have cost information. If y'all can do something to sharpen this up, it looks just fuzzy on my screen.
It's kind of small print on my screen.
That was one of my thoughts also. It's you can zoom in and out and make it bigger, but the default seemed to be pretty small for me.
I think it would be for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I'm looking at a fairly big screen too. If it was on a little laptop screen, I'd be getting out the magnifying glass. Let's see, where was I? It occurred to me for this, we might want to have an arrow showing, teams are moving to here or something like that, just to indicate it's a new state. That's a thought. I also wanted to ask, is this the current floor plan? I know LPA sent some newer ones. We should probably drop the current version in there.
Yep, no,
if
this
it's
hasn't
different.
been updated yet with the new ones. We can do that.
Okay. Any other comments, thoughts, suggestions on the FAQ particularly, or the webpage in general?
Well, I just increased my screen to full size, and now it's very easy to read everything that you're showing, Ed, but I don't know if that's how it shows up if you go onto the website.
I think if you're on the website, it will be, you can make it easy by zooming in and out or whatever.
Okay.
Might be a little tricky on a phone. I haven't looked at that. I hate looking at things on my phone because the fonts are too small. Okay. Any other thoughts in regards to town meeting or the run up to town meeting? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. And any other building related issues? I have a couple, but anybody else have anything? LPA, Vertex, anything you want to flag for us?
I'm all set, Ed. Thank you.
Okay. So two things I had. One is, I think people know I'm going to be off on the Appalachian Trail and unable to act as president starting in March. So I'm hoping we can find, not president, chair, sorry. Hoping we can find someone to step up and become the chair. Just to limit that, if people don't want to be the chair, I'm more than happy to step back up when I get back. But you know, if I'm on some mountain in North Carolina, I'm not going to be able to do an effective job. So
You'd have to say, no pun intended, you would be willing to trek back up.
yes, that's right. Okay, I'm not hearing anything on that. Something that the group will need to think about.
Yeah,
Sean's got his hand up.
I would just say the individual that I would recommend is not here today, so I'm uncomfortable making that recommendation while they're absent, but maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting.
It
Okay.
might be the same person I'm thinking of.
I think it's somebody most of us are thinking of.
If they're not here, that's the best time to nominate them. But
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that we members of the committee would like to explore that potential or ask that person if they're interested. I mean, that's not a bad thing to have sort of in the queue.
do you want to reach out to that person, Lee?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to be a little hands off on this. So but,
Yeah. And Sean, I'll give you a call.
The only other building related issue I have, pardon me, I was trying to cough and succeeding in that. Just is a little bit of news. The parking agreement with the Congregational Church next door is finalized, signed by both parties, and I believe we have a copy of the agreement now. So
Yay. What does it allow, Ed?
it actually pretty much gives the building community everything we asked for with appropriate notice to the church. So
And how about library patrons? Because I've parked there twice this week.
patrons are allowed to park there.
Thank you.
Basically when the church isn't using it.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, if you notice the sign, they took the sign down, I think even before they officially signed it. So I think that they're as excited as us.
Good.
Yeah. I imagine that's a public document now, so if you're interested, probably find, imagine Kate can send you a copy or something.
Yeah, I checked with Christy. I was like, who can we share this with? She was like, everyone.
Okay.
And I also checked in with the church next door to figure out how they preferred that we communicate that out to patrons. So I think we're all simpatico. We're all good.
Great. Okay, that's all I've got. Anything else?
Wow. Well, you must have been very efficient.
So our next meeting's the 25th. No meeting next week, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
February the 25th at 3:30 on Zoom. And the key things will be review our bids, update the total cost estimate, and make final preparations for the select board presentation. I think by that time, Kate and I will have worked out at least a draft presentation, refined it a little bit, and we'll probably give it to you, and then go from there. See what feedback we get. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Thank you all. I need a motion to adjourn.
Lee Emery moves we adjourn.
Second.
Second. That was Sean seconding? Okay. Let's see, going through Lynn,
Sickup, yes.
Kate,
Caraccio, yes.
let's see, just moved, okay, Sean,
Theo, yes.
Walter,
Leslie, yes.
Pete,
Steinbeck, yes.
who am I missing? Myself is a yes. Mary, I saw you on for a bit.
I think she might be gone.
Lee?
It looks like she dropped back off. I think that's everybody. Did I get, Lee? Yeah, we
Lee.
got Lee.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Emery, yes.
okay, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Alrighty.